The Sun is now in Sagittarius. That means we are now going through the third house while the Sun is going through the ninth house. That means we have a focus and we want to see, or be aware of more spirituality and more mutable and flexible ways to be inspired or to inspire others using our personal testimonies, our wisdom, our knowledge, our ability to travel, and our ability to use our testimonies to derive or inspire wisdom and knowledge in us and others. Welcome very much to the channel. In here we'll talk about astrology and spirituality, and let's get into it. So we have the Sun in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and it comes from the ninth house. And the Sun likes to be in all the fire signs: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And especially this is a particularly interesting season because Mars is also in Sagittarius, giving an extra boost of confidence, motivation, anger, and frustration to our ability to see or express wisdom, knowledge, spirituality, and most importantly, our own personal testimonies. Every time we talk about the Sun in Sagittarius, I like to say it's time to be your own Bible. It's time to teach about spirituality in general by teaching about yourself, by expressing your testimonies, by expressing your wisdom and knowledge, but in a way that makes sense, because one of the problems, quote unquote, of the Jupiterian signs, aka Sagittarius and Pisces, and sometimes they want to override reality and common sense with their own perspective. And that can work out by yourself, but when you're trying to reach to others, when you're trying to work together, and when you try to be listened and respected, that doesn't really work out even when you are right. And most times it will be like a feeling of self-sabotage because you don't have an anchoring point to remind yourself that you are correct, or what is the purpose of that communication, conversation, or interaction in general. So you can use the Gemini energy or the Virgo energy or the Mercurial energy, since Mercury rules both of those signs, to bring some balance. So make sure to look and find and want to find some common ground. Make sure you have some phrases or examples that can make your personal interests, your testimonies, your wisdom and knowledge make easier to connect with others around you that you're trying to reach out to them, or in a way to ground your message in a way that is still inspiring, liberating, and exciting, but also that makes sense and can be utilized or thought about in a realistic way. But that's just the way to balance it. Let's go back to Sun and Sagittarius and see what does that mean. So Sagittarius, like I said earlier, is ruled by Jupiter being its external side. And Jupiter, it's all about expansion, wisdom, knowledge, imagination, and the ability to travel. So Sun in Sagittarius means a want to be seen, to want, and to express your travels, how you travel, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the personal interests out of your travels. And also remember that Sagittarius is a mutable sign, and all the mutable signs have one thing in common that they love, which is gossip, or to integrate their own perspective with the world or somebody else's perspective. Cardinal signs are way more focused in creating their own perspective, and fixed signs are way more focused, well, in being fixed in their own perspective by being a bit in the middle, creating their own and absorbing others, but then creating a stance that it's their own. Mutable signs, they love to just mix and mingle, be mutable, be flexible, replace things, bring things from one point to the other. So with Sun in Sagittarius, you and others might want too much to investigate, to associate, and to introduce your own wisdom and their own testimonies to others' perspectives, to others' wisdom, knowledge, and personal testimonies derived out of their own travels. On the other way around, that might also be a thing. You might be expressing a travel that you had physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. You might be expressing a wisdom, a knowledge, a spiritual concept, and others might want to just introduce their own perspective, their own wisdom and knowledge into your own testimony. And this might seem confusing for you or others because you might think, and others might think, they're just expressing on their own accord. But it's way easier right now to see things in a mixed and mingled way. So you and others might be thinking, oh, I'm just expressing myself, but you're actually introducing your perspective into somebody else's perspective, and that might be hard to see and to realize, especially with Mars in Sagittarius. You just go into it. Mars ruling Aries and ruling Scorpio. It's very easy through the Martian energy, and also Sun is exalted in Mars. So even though the Sun is not in Aries, because Mars is conjuncting the Sun right now, you can experience some exalted Sun in Sagittarius energies. But coming back to the point, Mars energy can make you just go into something and then realize, oh, I'm into this. Oh, I did this. Oh, now my image is a bit more about that, especially with the Sun conjuncting Mars. It's very easy for you to just be interested, just be traveling, just be experiencing something, just be into some type of spirituality or some practice. And now, oh, that kind of became my image, and you then come to that realization, then you're going to use the other parts of your natal chart to go about it in any way that you seem fit for your own experience. Also, Sun in Sagittarius carries a bunch of ninth house elements because the Sagittarius constellation was born out of the ninth house. So that means an extra focus in wisdom, knowledge, but more particularly inspiration, teaching, preaching, and relieving the mind of mundane stresses. How so? And when I say mundane, it's not just day to day type things, also, but mundane in a more concrete sense of the word. Things that are too of this world, too logic, too realistic, that don't really matter for pleasure, inspiration, or your ability to travel. So anything that perturbs your ability to travel, and we're going to explain that a little bit more, you will, or others around you, will want to relieve your spirit and your mind out of those things. And that's exactly the reason why Sagittarius opposes Gemini and why Pisces opposes Virgo. Because you have the Jupiterian mutable signs, Pisces the internal side, and Sagittarius the external side. And then we have the mercurial signs, Virgo the internal side, and Gemini the external side. So the Jupiterian sides care more about spirituality, freedom, the ability to travel to different places. And that's exactly, infinitely, a more spiritual aspect. And then the mercurial sides care more about materialism, being sure about something, seeing things in front of you, communicating in a more cold, detached, and realistic way. But that is spiritually stressful because as a spirit, as a creator, one of your most powerful powers is the ability to travel, to go from one place to another, to create different things, to create in different ways, to be associated with different types of spirits and environments. So things that tie you down, especially with no purpose, are spiritually damaging. That's what we call demonic energy or hellish energy. So repetition, specifically with no purpose, or denial of spiritual aspects are demonic and hellish. So, especially in Sagittarius season, you want to see more of it because it's the external side. When the sun is in Pisces or Cancer, because Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in there, we also have that want, but it's less obvious and you don't want to see it as much in the world around you. Because at the same time that Sagittarius is the external side of Jupiter, it also opposes Gemini. And Gemini comes from the third house, which is your environment, your immediate physical surroundings, your neighborhood, and gossiping. So Sagittarius will want to see Jupiter and spirituality in those environments. And in most societies, in most neighborhoods, people don't even know how to start to talk about spirituality, and they don't even know how to talk about spirituality because that's why I'm here, because that's the next stage of our human evolution in this modern age that went too much into logicality, but we needed that so we can discern the right type of spirituality, astrology, and whatever, because back in the day, it was too much out of control. but that's for another video. So, with the Sun in Sagittarius, especially with Mars conjuncting that, you want to relieve your mind and others' minds of spiritually stressful circumstances. So anything that deals too much with numbers, statistics, the past, see, things happen like this, so that means it will happen right now. Those types of things, you want to relieve yourself out of that, and you want to relieve others out of that. Now what will change is how you do it and how others around you do it. Some people will go too much into the Mars energy and be too opposing, too combative. Other people will go more into the Jupiterian energy and try to inspire, try to make things more scattered, more light, more free flowing, right? But in the end of the day, remember that it's most important is to relieve that stress, not to completely take that Gemini or Virgo mercurial energy out of the way, because we need that to make sense. We created reality out of spirituality. We need both aspects. But right now, anything that is too logical will perturb your ability to travel emotionally or even physically, right? Mentally and spiritually as well. And when I say the ability to travel, the most important in this current season and overall as a spiritual entity is in your imagination. Because anything that perturbs your imagination is demonic. Imagine you are imagining something, right? A better future, you doing something, you feeling a certain positive, inspiring way. But then you yourself kill that imagination because of examples in the world around you, because of what other people said, what you've seen on the internet, what you've seen online. You are killing an imagination. You are perturbing your ability to travel. And as a spirit, there is not a lot of things more damaging than that, right? So, very important with Sun in Sagittarius to focus on seeing, acting, and expressing ways to inspire, be inspired, expand, and have imaginations and the ability to travel and relieve yourself and your environment of spiritually stressing circumstances that are too much focused on numbers, statistics, uh, social etiquette, rules, regulations, what happened in the past. You know what I'm saying? Everything should come into a more, not a total state of liberation, freedom, and inspiration. On the negative side, Sun in Sagittarius will make you or others using spirituality, whatever you believe in, spiritual belief systems, and religion, the focus part of your ego, image, or shame. Because Sun, it's all about image, how you see yourself and how you see and how you think others see you. So you might be very prideful about your own imaginations, about your own religion, or you might be very shameful because you believe in a certain thing that others don't really believe about that around you. And many times, people actually believe or at least relate your spiritual belief systems, but they are so connected to what's considered right to think and communicate about that they also keep to themselves even when you express it to them. So keep that in mind. It's not always the case that in your immediate circumstances, in your immediate surroundings, others are super realistic and they don't believe in outworldly things and they don't believe in something more than the body and more than the mind. Because many times people do believe in those things, but I don't know how to communicate it. They don't even know how to process it. And most times they don't know how to connect that to reality and point into current examples. But with Sun in Sagittarius, you can let that shame be a part of your image and you might be less expressive. You might be more cautious or completely deny your spiritual belief systems. And that's spiritually damaging. But also, on the other side, people around you and you can be spiritually snobs or can obfuscate reality and practicality with quote unquote wisdom and knowledge. And I think one of the biggest dangers of this Sagittarius season with Mars conjuncting the Sun is the power of extreme religion perspectives, because religion is not spiritual. If your religion if your religion has a god that created you and imposed rules upon you, that's not spiritual. Because being spiritual, like I said in my previous video, is to be aware and know that you are the creator. You are a creator, and nothing created you, and you created yourself. If you believe that somebody else created you and you should follow their rules, you have been indoctrinated, and I wish that you achieve some freedom. But Mars, bringing that passion and aggressiveness into Sun in Sagittarius, seeing spirituality in a more reaching and light way, can make religion extreme in a couple ways. You might be feeling, oh, I'm so Christian, I'm so Muslim, I'm so this, I'm so that. And you are not. So you have no space around me. Or it can be super extreme where religious people will try to take over land in the spiritual sense and in the realistic sense. But at the same time, that's the funny part about Sagittarius, is that it's mutable. So it can be very light, it can be very inspired and very dissuaded in the same second. And also, you can be spiritually strong and then spiritually weak, because it's mutability, it's up and downs in the same space in the same second. So it's also very easy to express your spiritual pressure, but it's also very, very easy to be pressed by spirituality or the lack of spirituality. So I'd like you to focus in this Sagittarius season in, firstly, and all seasons, be your goddamn self, believe in all possibilities, and I want you to want, act, and express more accordingly to your personal beliefs if does not involve harming others. Because, for an example, we have some people that they believe they should be abusing people below the age of 18, and they shouldn't. They're just lost in an animalistic mind. Get wrecked. Go to jail. Go to Yale. Go to hell. Don't belong in this beautiful God-driven land. And God is all possibilities in this case. You know what I'm saying? And I want you to also focus in more faith, more belief, more things that do not limit your ability to imagine, to travel, to think, to see yourself in a better way, see the world in a better way, because very, very important is going to be a very balancing point, is that currently we are in, not we are, but some people are in a doomer way. Oh, AI this, the world is so cold, so much corporations. But that's just a part of the world. If you go into the forest, I know it's a very extreme example, but if you go into the forest, there is nothing about that. If you go into certain countries and don't even know what AI is, for an example. But Sun in Sagittarius is perfect to bring more spirituality, more faith, more humanity, more wisdom, more knowledge, more expansion, more transformation, more creativity, and to go away a little bit from all that corporation, exactitude, that predictability, that control. You know what I'm saying? So focus on that faith, believe, and inspiration, and you'll be all right. But be careful to not be delusional and to not support and associate yourselves with other delusional people, because some those things are real. They are not. They just are not as real or as damaging as some people make it out to be. So Sagittarius is wanting wanting to be wanting to be seen, acting, and expressing about spirituality, wisdom, knowledge, faith, belief, and imagination, or wanting to see, or wanting to be seen, act, and express in more ways that run away from reality, in more ways that run away from responsibility, and in more ways that mask reality with a happy go lucky or a God controls everything and religion controls everything kind of perspective. Now let's see how Sun in Sagittarius is aligning with the rest of the natal chart. we have Mercury in Scorpio retrograde, fatal attracting the Sun in Sagittarius. So Mercury in retrograde mean in Scorpio means that we are coming back to, or things from our past are coming into our mind, specifically when it's about deep desires, deep emotions, deep transformations, or deep experiences that can perturb our ability to speak, communicate, and analyze clearly. Or you, if you have more Mercurial energy, if you have more Aquarius, Virgo, Gemini energy, or if you grew up into a way where you learn how to speak better, if you learn how to translate your mind and emotions better, you now have the power to go deep into your past and communicate, think, and analyze in a more clear way about those deep things. So that can help you anchor yourself, or your mind can be too perturbed and too scared, too scarred about those deep emotions and transformations to accept imaginations, wisdom, knowledge, faith, and spirituality in general, especially because Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. It's the opposite planet of Jupiter. That doesn't mean they hate each other, it means they are great for balancing, but they can forget about each, or we can forget about those elements. So, at the same time that Scorpio can make it harder for you to think clearly, it will force you, especially the retrograde of Mercury right now, but then it will go out of retrograde, it will go back into Sagittarius. So it will be right now forcing you to go deep within your mind and to analyze emotions and feelings, and force you to be fixed with your mind about spirituality, about things outside of this world, emotions, feelings, and then create a fortress of positivity or negativity, create a fortress of understanding or defeat, and then move that into a space where you'll be communicating, thinking, and analyzing in a more mutable, non realistic, and spiritual way. But right now, it's easier for you or others to see in you or in themselves the purpose, the goal, and the faith in the mental progress being done or that needs to be done, especially if you have to go back to the past, deep within yourself, deep within transformative circumstances. And you might be seeing that you can't think as clearly. You might see, you might understand, others can think as clearly. They can communicate as clearly. It might not be, you might be able to see that, oh, that's happening, but you might not be able to understand why. And that's kind of the water element. It's not really, you can't point at it and say, it's that. It happens. It is there. And once you come to a conclusion, you'll be able to point things out, but not mostly not as you go through it. So, Sun in Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is bringing us the ability to see, act, and express purpose, wisdom, knowledge, lostness, gullibility, and illusions into mental processes, communication, and analysis process of deep transformative circumstances, feelings, and emotions, especially connected to the past or some repetition process. Then, Sun in Sagittarius, Venus in Scorpio. This is the ability to act and express in a mutable and flexible way wisdom, knowledge, faith, belief, scatteredness, gullibility, and illusions into deep, consistent, or stubborn ways to relate, have pleasure, and commit about your deep values, deep transformative circumstances, deep emotions, deep feelings, and deep goals. That it's not even something in life, in the world that you want to achieve. It's this state of being that is consistent. So you have the ability to see that, to be more inspired to achieve that, or to feel overweighed by the world, logicality, facts, and cold ways to think, communicate, and analyze that makes you think that it's impossible or very unlikely for you to relate, commit, and have pleasure in a deep, meaningful, and consistent way. Then we have Mars in Sagittarius, conjuncting the Sun in Sagittarius. This is bringing more passion, more frustration, more aggressiveness, more motivation, and more deep desires to you and others and your surroundings in a physically or spiritual way to act, express, and see more spirituality, more wisdom, more knowledge, more personal testimonies, more gullibility, sacrificing more of your identity to be a part of a belief, to be a part of a group. That's actually something very important that I didn't touch upon, which is in Sagittarius season, it's easy and sometimes natural. It doesn't mean it's good, but sometimes it's natural to sacrifice your identity and your core set of values just to belong to a belief, belong to an experience, belong to a faith. And don't ever do that. Do not ever sacrifice yourself, your individuality, or your core set of beliefs, or your core set of values to belong. No, you take that and then you go to multiple places until you find or create a group of people or a group of spirits that associate with that. You don't become you don't start as mushy and then connect. Now you start as strong and then you become a bit mushy. You know what I'm saying? But Mars is just bringing more passion, frustration, anger, and motivation to the natural side of Sun in Sagittarius, which is seeing, wanting to be seen, act and express about spirituality, beliefs, illusions, imaginations. And just be careful because you might be forced, you might be rage baited, or you might be motivated by the external world to sacrifice yourself to be a part of some belief or whatever, or you might be ashamed, or others might try to make you ashamed of your beliefs in a passionate way, in an aggressive way, because they might be in two ways, in a different belief, in a different spiritual belief system, or they might be too realistic, because in a way people that are atheists, they believe in that, that's their religion, right? Everything is a religion, they're just kind of doing it in a wrong way. So they might be too realistic and they might be shaming of you because they're so passionate about that, because that's still their belief, that's still what they be expressing about. You know what I'm saying? Just a bunch of fools sometimes. That's all right. Everybody here is to learn. Then we have Sun in Sagittarius in conjuncting Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. And this one is a bit complicated. It's not a bit complicated to go through it. As spiritual entities, it's kind of chill to go through that, but it's a bit complicated to explain it because not only it's an in conjunction of Sag that is ruled by Jupiter, and then Cancer where Jupiter is exalted, but now Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer as well. So first, what is that? What is Jupiter retrograde in Cancer? Is us coming back to the past, or the past coming back to us, or we just noticing that we are in a certain pattern, in a certain repetition, and then we expand with new emotions, new feelings, new purposes, and new spiritual places of comfort, rest, regeneration, or generation, aka your genesis. And that is in conjuncting, aka misunderstanding yours and others' wants to be, to be seen, to act, express, spirituality, wisdom, knowledge, gullibility, and illusions in a more mutable and flexible way. And this is hard to explain. Usually, spiritual or more spiritual elements are harder to explain because they can take many forms. While more logical, more grounded earth and air elements, they usually take more specific forms. So it's easier to be like, it's that. It's A, it's B, and it's C. But these more spiritual alignments, they are not the thing, they are the space, the state, and the spirit that creates the thing. So it's not like, oh, if you're going through this, if you got that, if you got this, that means this. No, it's like, if you are in this space, this will happen. So focus on you being aware, noticing that you and others might be misunderstanding the expansion and emotional renovation of past experiences, especially that deal with family, places of comfort, familiarity, and genesis. But it's all about expansion, right? But one, the sun is more external, more about the environment, and more about your ability to travel. And then Jupiter in Cancer is more about the purpose. Why are you traveling? Why are you creating and renovating the intention, the purpose, or the emotion in that space? And remember that through any inconjunction, through any misunderstanding, there is common ground. And the common ground here is the expansion, deriving, connecting, being inspired and inspired through wisdom and knowledge, spirituality, and creativity. Then we have Saturn in Pisces, also retrograde, squaring the Sun in Sagittarius. So, what is Saturn in Pisces retrograde is us coming to the past, or the past coming to us, or we realizing that we are repeating a certain pattern, which is not bad. That's just how we create things. But it's all about spiritual structures that are mutable, emotional, internal, and that can expand, be inspired, be illusional, delusional, or connect to the dreams and illusions. Or, just like Pisces, turn it all around and it's about bringing mutability, flexibility, plasticity, viscosity to your physical structures that deal with money, networking, association, teamworking, and how you feel secure because you are a part of a certain part of the world. Like if you are in finance, if you are in sports, whatever you do that makes you feel safe, structured, and I'm on the right side, that's Saturn. But Pisces makes sure to make that more flexible, more mutable. And dreams and illusions, faith, belief, and imagination, love, hate, excitement, depression, all in small quantities, but exchanging at really fast speed is making your perspective of what is real, what is structured, what is not structured. And especially it's retrograde, so everybody's going into their past, or their past is coming back to us to then reevaluate through that perspective your current structure. Very confusing. But at the same time, it's very easy to take those dreams, those illusions, those imaginations, that creativity, and make structure out of it. So you can take toxicity, super easy, make a structure out of it if you spend enough time in it. That's the key word for spiritual creation. Or you can take that creativity, you can take that dream and make structure out of it. And now everybody is learning how to express, how to see and be seen in a more spiritual, light, faithful, gullible, or identity sacrificial way about that. So, let me try here to, in the most simple way, explain this alignment, which might be the most complicated of this current natal chart. We are learning how to see and be seen in a more expansionable, wise, and knowledgeable way that we know about our own and others' spiritual, emotional, and delusional structures in a realistic and spiritual way. How so? So you might now want to be seen, or you want others to show you that you or they know how to identify who is and who is not, including organizations and governments, building a structure out of dreams or out of nightmares. And we're learning how to see that we know how to do that we are wise enough to do that, or we're learning to identify who knows and who can we learn from so we can follow their example and choose the best association and teams and groups to be on the right side of reality. And what is the right side of reality? The side, the group, the mentality that allows us to build structure out of our dreams, out of our creativity. It's the group of thoughts, ideas, feelings, limits, and boundaries that allows us to create a routine and pattern that is sustainable and profitable, but it's juicy and delicious. And it's also, and it's kind of vice versa. It's taking that juice, that deliciousness, things that you love to be lost into, and then make structure out of it. Know when to get out and know how to spend enough time in it without burning yourself out, but still making profits. So Saturn in Pisces goes a long way, but basically now we are learning how to see that. We're learning how to see who is doing the best Saturn in Pisces, who is creating the most spiritual structures, who is creating the most spiritual groups, who is limiting and bounding their emotions in the best way. And it's not about sacrificing them. It's just about giving shape to the water. That's like no, it's about giving water to the shape as well. You know what I'm saying? In a way that you can create a structure that is profitable and pleasurable, that is reliable but fresh. And we're just learning how to see it and how to see the wisdom and the knowledge in ours and others' spiritual structures. But don't take my word for it. Like there is many elements that can represent this alignment. But now you know at least a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Then you have Uranus in Gemini, retrograde, opposing Sun in Sagittarius. So many things retrograde. It's kind of annoying. Let me, as a Aquarian stellium, all this retrograde energy is a bit annoying, but also it's giving me another opportunity so my stubborn ass can move slowly. You know what I'm saying? Fixed signs love retrograde energy because it gives them another chance to catch up with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Actually, Uranus is now in Taurus. It's 29 degrees, so it's kind of the same, especially when we're talking about the cusp with a mutable sign, and it's like 29, 1, it's all the same. Like, don't be too specific about it. It's all the same. The thing is, knowing where we're going. So we're going from here, we're going from A to B, not from B to A. So what can we expect tomorrow? What can we expect on our next step? You know what I'm saying? So, Sun in Sagittarius opposing Uranus in Gemini retrograde. What does that mean? Uranus in Gemini retrograde is we going to our past, the past coming to us, even if in different ways it comes from the same space, or we realizing and analyzing the repetition that we're doing about what? About mutable, scattered, cold, and logical ways to think, communicate, analyze, gossip as a lies, and transmit to our environment or be transmitted by our environment change, rebelliousness, opposition, uniqueness, and individuality. And that is opposing all ours and others' wants to be seen, to act and express about spirituality, faith, beliefs, illusions, imaginations, wisdom, and knowledge. So this is very good to balance. The only problem is you might be, or others might be, too stuck up to the past, right? Oh, back in the day, people tried to bring these type of thoughts, but then that happened, you know? And retrogrades are not really about that. It's more about you reevaluating your present circumstance. It's not about getting stuck to the past. It's about bringing some lessons to the present so you can do better. It's not about denying the evolution. It's not about denying progress. It's about regulating and moderating the progress, or in many cases, just feeling safe about it. You know what I'm saying? And how is the opposition? We'll talk about the balance. How can the opposition happen? If you or others are expressing in ways that are too la la landish, if you are speaking about spirituality without pointing to some examples, if you being too religious, and if you bring too many limits and too many boundaries through my God this, my God that, Uranus will rebel on your ass. You better believe it, with some cold, straight facts, with some cold, straight logic, or some cold fists. Like in reality, it's like I said earlier, it's not the time to be spiritually snob. It's not the time to go into spiritual wars. You might feel like it. Others might make you feel like it, especially with Mars in there. But it's not time. It's time to bring to this world that got, not this world, but to certain parts of the world that got a bit more cold with AI and corporations. It's time to bring faith, not to bring religion to then make others that believe in all that corporation bullshit even more afraid of spirituality and the feminine and the internal and subconscious realm, and then justify them. See, they too religious, they too la la landish, oh, women this, women that, or these males are so unstable, oh, they need to be more, they need to be more logic. Like, we don't want, or you don't want people around you to fear spirituality right now. You want them to respect it. Not because it's opposing something, because it's bringing balance. And then Uranus in Gemini will make that spread like wildfire, because Uranus co-rules Aquarius, and Gemini trines Aquarius, and Geminis love to have Aquarius around because they go to Aquarius and they spread the information. And then Aquarius feel lighter and they feel, oh, finally I can breathe a little bit. So if you bring the right fire, Sagittarius Sun, into Uranus in Gemini, that will spread like wildfire. And then people around you and you in your environment will feel more spiritual and more logical at the same time. Then we have Neptune in Pisces, retrograde, cusp, Aries. Just saying that is kind of annoying to me. You know what I'm saying? Because Neptune is the most outlandish. It's like Pisces on steroids. You know what I'm saying? So it's grand illusions, grand imaginations, grand feelings, grand emotions, grand trauma, grand nightmares. And it's so hard to point like things in real life that are Neptune like. Because Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are generational. So try to identify some generational illusions. Like, you can point to certain examples, but like being sure about it is complicated. Then put that in Pisces, put that in retrograde, and put that in cusp. It's just like so confusing. So basically, we're learning how to see and derive external wisdom and knowledge about grand illusions, grand nightmares about yours and other pasts, and most likely about some flunked out stuff or some inspirational stuff that past generations did. Yes, retrogrades in Uranus, in Neptune and Pluto, they not only they go back generations. So imagine a great example, parents hitting their kids, right? I was talking in the other day with my girlfriend about that because it looks like that suddenly it just stopped. There was like a frontier or a generational frontier where it suddenly people just realized where it's not okay to hit your kids. But back in the day, it was not only acceptable. If you didn't do that as a parent, you'll be seen as a bad parent. So now with Sun in Sagittarius, we can derive more emotion, more oh, this Neptune is getting to me. We can derive more wisdom and knowledge and try to understand from a spiritual standpoint, like where it came from, what states of being derived that generational curse, that generational trauma, and not only that, what generational and spiritual scars did that create. Right now, it's the best I can do. Then we'll see. Lastly but not least, this is very important, very powerful alignment. Pluto in Aquarius, 1 degree, sextiling Sun in Sagittarius. This is, I already said that throughout this whole video, the opportunity to see, act, express, and the opportunity to want faith, believe, inspiration, and freedom into the new Aquarian world. And what is the new Aquarian world? On the negative side, corporations taking over, AI taking over, programs taking over, predictability taking over. What is the positive side? Structures, groups of people, mindsets that are realistic, that are structured, but they are that way to support unique minds and the expression of unique minds that allow other unique minds to associate for a common goal, for a common progress for a common project. So now we have the opportunity to bring spirituality, uniqueness, individuality, faith, and a breath of fresh air into this recent propagation of AI and corporation greed and dominance. Because that's not true. That's not true. It's just the first steps into this Aquarian world. And the first steps are always the hardest. You know what I'm saying? On the negative side, it's an opportunity to bring identity sacrifice, to bring lostness, illusion, and spiritual scammers, spiritual intentional people driving you into a cliff because they bringing these hopes and these expansions or these visions into yours and others structures, networking, and organization in a social and structural way. But I really want to focus more on the positive side here, which is to bring spirituality, wisdom, and knowledge in a more mutable and flexible way to deep transformation, deep power, control, issues, wars, and fights, so we can build up this new Aquarian world with the purpose, with the goal of having a common and external, spiritual, wise, and knowledgeable environment that respects your identity, your spirituality, your personal testimonies, and everybody else's personal testimonies. That's everything for today. Thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Believe in yourself and in all possibilities. Until the next time, I wish you the best.